go, gang. We're going to finish up module 15. We're learning about amphibians and reptiles today. In the old days, we used to have the reptiles in a whole separate deal. We do not anymore. But we have the birds by themselves. So next week we'll be looking at birds. Yes?
May I silence my phone?
May you silence your phone?
Yes.
Of course you may. Please do.
People are being popular.
Okay. All right. So y'all will be dissecting a frog today. You'll have your own frog.
Oh, nice. Is it a
Okay.
bullfrog?
And there is a snake, but Hayden's going to do the snake as a demo to show
Let's
you.
go.
Okay. Yeah. So here we go. What is an amphibian?
Wait,
frog.
I need to get all my green markers out.
Class Amphibia. The word means dual life, and so you may understand that because we know that amphibians live part of their life cycle in the water and part of their life cycle on land. All right, so here we go. This is the little chart you're filling out. All right, and the first thing you put on there is that they are vertebrates. They have an endoskeleton made mostly of bone with some, of course, cartilage here and there. Kind of like our skeleton is that way, right? All right, smooth skin with many capillaries and pigments. They do not have scales. Okay, so they'll have color with those pigments, and it'll be really interesting when you go do your dissection. You're going to look at the inside of the skin of the critter, and you're going to see all sorts of blood vessels in there. Very, very cool looking. All right, 2 pair of limbs with webbed feet, so 4 legs. As many as 4 organs for respiration. And that's the secret of all those blood vessels in the skin. The skin is actually a way for an amphibian to breathe. They have a 3-chambered heart. That's a good quiz question. And they are oviparous. What does that mean? Oviparous. Who remembers? Not viviparous, not ovoviviparous, but oviparous. That means they lay eggs. Lay eggs with external fertilization. So the female lays the eggs, the male comes along later and drops the
That's
sperm.
where you're writing every single thing in different pen, Eddie.
What are you about it?
He's switching pens between questions and he writes them.
This is great.
Yeah, it's creative. That's all right with me.
Do I get extra points for it? Oh.
Have you ever dissected a turtle, Miss Casper?
I have. It was horrible.
Really?
It was worse than the fish or the clam. Very stinky.
Yeah. They don't smell as bad if they're fresh.
Did you make turtle soup afterward?
Well, it was a preserved specimen, so your point is well taken, Stephen. It could have, on a fresh one, it wouldn't have been stinky like
They
that.
don't
Yeah.
smell as bad once they're...
I think with that shell on there, it's hard to preserve all the parts on the inside. Same with the clam. All right, so we'll be looking here in a minute at the dual life situation as far as the metamorphosis of a frog. They go through metamorphosis as well as the insects do.
Have you ever had turtle soup, Miss Casper?
I have not, but I did learn this when we were on our marine biology trip. I did learn that there is one place in the world you can have turtle soup legally.
The canyon, right?
Was it the Caymans, the Grand Caymans?
Yeah.
And they raise the turtles specifically to make the soup, and they have a big giant fundraiser
Oh,
to
they're
preserve.
not legal to eat?
No, it's not legal to have turtle soup.
It's legal.
Really?
No, way illegal.
But as
I'm talking about ocean turtles.
Oh, I was talking about freshwater
I don't know about land turtles. I don't know about the law there. We were just talking
If
in
it's
the
in my
context
pond,
of
it's
marine
legal.
biology. If it's your pond, it's your critter. That's the way I see it. Yeah, I don't know about the legality of that.
And what about bald eagle soup?
You may not do
I
that.
didn't
You
do
may
that.
not kill a bald eagle.
But what if it's on
But
my
we
head?
will be talking
get
about
better for one.
birds next week. So we'll learn all about the birds and see how they're not bald at all. Right? Okay, are we good on this? Everybody's got a little something on each of those boxes? Okay. Here's that 3-chambered heart. So how this works, we're getting closer and closer to a 4-chambered heart, which is what mammals have, right? So here we are. We talked about, what did we talk about last time? They had 2 chambers, right? What did we dissect last week?
We dissected a fish.
Right, 2-chambered heart, remember? And then we have a 3-chambered heart here. We have 2 upper atria, so the right atrium and the left atrium, and one shared lower chamber called the ventricle. In a four-chambered heart, those would be separated as well. So notice we have red for oxygenated, blue for deoxygenated, even though blood isn't really blue. And then when it's down here, it's purple because they're mixed together, right? That way. Did you have a question, Bud?
Give me a second.
How many, like, even if, people have chambered hearts? Like,
Humans have four-chambered hearts. There can be a problem with the heart, and that would be like a hole in the septum right here. And so typically how we deal with that is surgically when like a
Do
newborn
we need
baby.
all 4 chambers?
We do, yeah. We can live for a while with a hole between our hearts, but they go in surgically, correct that, yeah. So you don't wanna have only 3 chambers.
Give me a
We're made to
second.
have 4.
I'm almost done.
Personally, I only need 1, so
1 chamber.
One
No.
chamber?
Mm-mm.
it's impressive.
Yeah, our hearts are like two separate pumps, so we needed to have 2 separate places that they pump to. 1 place to your body, 1 place to your lungs. So that's what's happening here too. Of course, they're going to the lungs, and we'll see that frogs do have lungs. We'll see that when you do your dissection. But they have, remember, 4 different organs for breathing.
So
Yeah.
no animal or creature has a 1-chambered heart?
I mean, there
What
are
about
those
worms?
animals that, remember the worms have those little aortic arches?
Yeah.
If you want to call that 1 chamber, but there's 5 of them.
So there's just 5
5
1 chambers.
1-chambered little bulges.
Do
Have
ants
everyone.
have hearts?
Ants?
Ants?
Yeah, they have that.
Insects, what do we do when we didn't look at our grasshopper very closely, did we? They do have the aortic arch type situation. So they have like more like a bulge.
How many of those?
Well, remember it's an open circulatory system, so they just dump it down into the bottom of the body. Right?
So 1 chamber.
I'll say, okay, I'll accept that, a 1-chamber heart for those guys. For our arthropods. Okay. So the examples of class amphibian, we have 2 orders we'll be learning about today in amphibia. Order Caudata are the salamanders, and then order Anura are the frogs and toads.
There's 3 sections here.
Oh, yeah.
You're late, Max.
All right, I think those were blanks to write in, yes?
There's 3 of them though.
1, 2, 3. Right? Another order?
Yeah, there's 3 orders.
The
Well,
Tuatara,
it's
maybe?
just examples of amphibia.
Okay.
So
And
I think we're getting to that because we'll have reptiles in a minute. But so Caudata are the salamanders, the Anura are the frogs and toads.
Drop that straight.
Oh, sorry. I was drawing the heart.
Hey, jump.
3-chambered heart,
Go.
yeah. All right, so here's some example of salamanders. And so remember the idea of dual life. They start off in the water as an egg. They come out here as a little larval form right here. What do we have a name for it? It just says larva with gill buds. Then we have the developing larva right here. The gills are outside the body. And here we get up to here. At this point, oftentimes that critter right there is called a mud puppy. You might have seen those at
Isn't that an ocelot?
bait shops and stuff. Then you get to our adult. What's the question?
So that looks like an ocelotl.
This one up top?
No, that one.
Oh, here?
That looks like
Okay,
an
I don't
ocelotl.
know. I don't know.
Look, you know what ocelotl looks like?
Well, if it looks like that,
It looks
here, is that it?
That's yeah.
I call that a mud puppy.
That's an ocelotl.
no, there's a difference.
Is there?
These
Yeah.
are fairly large.
So-
I
so
don't know
an-
what you're going to
an
use.
axolotl-
Yeah.
An axolotl stays like that. A mud puppy goes into
Into
the next
this.
stage of a salamander.
All right, so
But they look
this
very,
critter
very
right here, the mud puppy, you see it's got its gills outside its body. Here you can come up a little closer. There they are. So he's definitely extracting his oxygen from the water. But then those will absorb in, and then he will later come out with something like this. This is called a fire salamander. They're smaller.
Is that the thing in Frozen 2?
I do not know.
Okay.
What I do know is they sell these, and I believe up at our pet store here you can get a hold of these guys.
Yeah.
And they're just really cool. And you can put them in a specialized tank. The tank needs to have water, access to water,
Side note,
and
they are
dry
not fire
area as
fish,
well.
No, they are called fire salamanders.
Darn.
I've tested this theory.
All right, this right here is the
That's a-
egg, like the egg sac of a salamander.
Why's he just gripping it?
And
Why's he gripping it?
it's got a rock, like a I'm trying to say rock, but it's a twig
Stem.
or something it's holding onto to get a little stability, and the little eggs are inside that gel. If you bring it in really close, so you can see the critter developing.
I don't know
inside.
why, but I feel like that would feel like a grape without the shell on.
Yeah.
Like,
Feels-
Well, except it's pretty big.
It's just
This,
very
It feels
this
like
is
frog
like the
eggs
grape.
when you hold it.
All right, that brings us then, of course, to frogs. This is a tree frog, and have y'all seen them around? We
I
have them
literally
back.
found one this
Yes.
morning. Like
It's-
it was on my
So
mom's
was it
bike.
this color?
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And this cute that like gross like stuff that makes your eyes burn. Like the
These guys do?
we have these little frogs that are like this big and like white.
Are they white? Yeah. So we've got some of the white ones with an interesting little pattern,
Yeah.
And,
almost like your shirt, like a
Yeah.
camo kind of a
and,
thing.
and
going on.
they're defensive and they secrete this thing on them.
And it
you
does
touch
what to
it,
you?
It agitates your skin. If you touch your eyes, it makes
Really?
it
Okay,
dry,
good to
so-
know. Good to know. For a long time we didn't have tree frogs around. I think it's because we were in a drought, but we've had rain lately for the past couple years, so they're coming back now. And so we definitely have them. I haven't seen a green one yet
We
this
have a lot
season,
of
but I've
Houston
definitely
toads.
seen some white ones.
That's what.
Well, don't tell anybody.
No. I'm not saying we don't, but I'm saying like in this area.
Yeah. Okay. Don't tell anybody. They won't let you build on your land.
Why
if you
should-
find one.
No. Yeah, we live. I think we live exactly 2 miles from where.
I
the
know
thing
that the
stops.
fire decimated the
Alright.
Houston toads.
Oh yeah, we
population.
actually
Yeah.
are on our land with Houston toads. We have our sign up, say like protect them and whatnot.
Oh, okay, that's right. As long as you don't want to build anything on your land.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have
All
a
right, so
house
let's
there,
talk
so-
about interesting features of frogs. Is this on your a book for interesting features? Here we go. They have a unique life cycle: egg, larva, which is the tadpole. You can call it larva or tadpole,
Were they good?
with gills, and then adult with lungs. So it goes egg, tadpole, adult. They breathe through. Ready? Here are those 4 things. They breathe through their skin. They breathe through their nares, which are basically a fancy word to say nostrils, right? The holes in their head. Their mouth lining, and of course, as a tadpole, they breathe through their gills. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 things you can find there. I felt like there was one more, honestly. They have something known as a nictitating membrane. It is, you may have seen something like that on your cat. Cats have that too. We call it a third eyelid. But the
They
one
close
for
it
the
it goes like this direction.
with the cat, they're kind of white looking. With these guys, they're clear like goggles. Like they have goggles to go underwater. They are for protection against dehydration. They just protect the eye. A tympanum is their eardrum. They don't have an ear per se, but they do have an ear, a drum that vibrates so they can catch that. And they can hear. Just behind their eyes. They have a head and a trunk on their body, and only the males croak. They're the only ones that make that sound. So when you're taking your evening walk and you hear all those really loud frogs
Bull
croaking,
frogs.
those are the males who are looking for a mate.
That makes sense. Males are very loud.
Yeah, they're very loud, and then if you make a loud noise, they might just quit all of a sudden, or they just might keep going and say, "I don't care if you're there." Right? So, all right. So that's a few interesting features. You didn't have to write any of these down.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, very good. Check out this guy. Whenever in nature that
Poison.
you see anything that's very colorful like this, beware. Y'all have probably noticed all the what we call the woolly bears, the little caterpillars crawling
Pink
across
ones.
the road. Yeah, they're
Black
everywhere.
ones.
You run over like hundreds as you're driving along. But typically, I tell children to not mess with fuzzy caterpillars, just in case. Some of them will sting you, but I believe those black woolly bears are okay to touch or
I
whatever.
know.
They'll probably
I
turn
like
into a
the
moth, I'm
sticks.
assuming.
Yeah.
They turn into white moths. It's like white moths.
I've
like
seen a
black
bunch of
moths.
those white moths, and they're terrible for the garden because they're going to lay those things on your plants, and they'll eat your plants. The caterpillars will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So this is
But Mrs.
probably what is known
Casper-
as a poison dart frog.
Haven't you ever read the Hungry
I know, but the hungry caterpillar is eating my garden, and I don't like him
Yep.
when he does that.
So we
I don't
find-
mind the monarch because they eat weeds. They eat a milkweed, but I don't. But the rest of them I don't like. Okay, so the idea of a poison dart frog is they literally would take a dart and rub it on the skin of the frog, and then they would shoot that at a critter.
Don't
that
they
would
only
kill them.
secrete poison if you aggravate them and stuff too, though?
You're not supposed to touch them, so maybe just touching them is aggravating.
Just smack it. Boom.
I don't know. That kind of reminds me, y'all remember if you want to have an extra credit project that you can take away a bad quiz and turn it into 100 magically, you can present something to class as long as it's about biology. you would have to do that probably in 2 weeks,
How
right?
water is created.
So in 3 weeks from today, 3 weeks from today is our final exam,
Dang.
Let's go.
right? So we have 2 weeks of module 16. So trying to squeeze in a project in there somewhere.
And then Miss Casper's done for teaching for life.
That's it. Well, I've got a bunch of grandkids, so
Oh yeah.
I'll teach them.
Professional
Alright,
teaching.
do amphibians hibernate? The answer is yes. So write down yes. It turns out that we have had reports of frogs and toads who were completely frozen. I'm talking popsicle frozen. Clunk, clunk, you know, and they come back from that. They can't, it doesn't kill them. So their hibernation can be very, very profound because they will be frozen.
We
So
used to have
they are under the ground like this, but they will actually freeze. Earthworms can do that as well.
We used to have a stock tank in our backyard, and I went out there during one of the freezes, and there's like a bunch of frogs, and all they had is like their nose sticking out.
Seriously?
They're just frozen in there. And I was like, oh, the poor frogs, they died.
And they didn't.
I came back after everything thawed, and they were all like swimming around and going crazy
They
in
made
the water.
it. There you go. All right. So what is the difference between frogs and toads?
One makes
All
One's
right.
edible and the other's not.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
And toads are a lot bigger.
You don't want to eat toad legs like you eat frog legs? Frog legs are delicious.
Frog
by
legs
the
are
way.
amazing.
Are we cooking this up?
No, no. All right, so a couple of differences right here that are pretty obvious is with the frog, they typically have a smoother skin, not a bunch of those little warts all over it. They usually have color, green, browns, things like this. You're going to look at your specimen today, and that's one of the things you're going to write down is what color is he or is she. They have a slimmer body. They have very long jumping legs.
That's me.
That's different from these guys. And furthermore, they have, especially on their back legs, they're webbed feet. So they're much more frequently found in the water swimming. All right. And these guys over here, they kind of hobble around. It says here prefers to jump. Okay, they jump pretty far.
Yeah.
This one prefers to walk. Okay, they just kind of hobble around. They don't
know.
jump as
The
well.
ones we have around here, they like do little jumps.
Little hops. Yeah. Whereas if you see a frog, it'll whoosh, it'll get away from you.
No,
It'll
I
really
think the toads we have at our house, which are not Houston toads, are like this
Oh, yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And them things are like, boom,
Pretty good jump.
boom. And I'm sitting
Okay.
here, and then my dog runs up and like bites it and like just
Oh.
leaves it there.
This is Casper. Have you
Mhm.
ever accidentally stepped on a toad?
Mhm.
So terrifying.
It makes a terrible splatter.
We used to shoot them. We'd go around and like
Shoot 'em?
Where are you shooting? We have a lot of toads, and so when I was young,
That's
I used
really
to,
wasting ammo, man.
Well, no, BB guns.
Oh, gotcha.
BB guns are
I'm
just like
cool.
boom, and
Yeah.
We would
Kinda
be
sad.
my grandparents.
Okay. Toads tend to have a little more stout body type. They also have the kind of warty looking skin on them.
Why
And
do
they
toads always
spend
look
more time on
mad?
land. Yeah, they're kind of grumpy,
They
yeah.
always look angry.
So here's our metamorphosis. It is a complete metamorphosis where they go from an egg to the tadpole, also known as the larval stage. And then this one's usually called a metamorph, sometimes known as a froglet. Is sometimes what they'll call it.
Yeah,
And then we have our adult.
So
So
why
by
do they
this
tell-
time, the critter can breathe air. It's got lungs developed at this point. There's a little bit of tail left. Right here, they cannot live outside of the water, up here at the top. If you want to raise a tadpole to become a frog, and you have a pond where you can see some tadpoles swimming around, if you wait until they at least have their back legs, you have a better chance of it surviving.
This is gonna sound really stupid, but what happens to the tail? Is it just like
It just absorbs,
spread out? and so-
absorbs right into the body. Yeah, sort of like the
Weird.
yolk of an egg, just absorbs in. There's nutrients and things like that.
Have tails?
No.
So here's a little tadpole with no legs yet. He's only got his tail. Here we can see developing those back legs. So at this stage, if you wanted to try to raise it into an adult, you'd have a better
That's
shot
pretty
here.
freaky looking.
Yeah.
Like,
It looks like a wings.
It does. It does. Those are just the rear legs. You can see they're bent right there. So like bent.
It's a dragon tadpole.
That could be like a horror movie character. Like,
He does have little legs
freaking
probably tucked under there in the front
Yeah.
side. All right, so we're
Imagine a
looking
pack of those
at
couple of feet tall.
the external anatomy, which you will be looking at with your little frog right there. Here's the stuff we talked about. All right, so they're going to have a color. We have a head and a trunk. We have the jumping legs back here and the walking front legs right here. With their digits, you'll be looking closely at their little feet and see the little claws that are on there. This right here is the tympanum. That's the thing that is the ear, the way they have to hear. The nostril, remember, they're going to be able to use that for breathing. They also use their skin for breathing. When you open up their mouth, the internal part of their mouth also exchanges oxygen there. You'll also find the little funny teeth in there called the vulmarine teeth. They're at the top of and that just helps them hold on to their prey. You might be able to see the nictitating membrane on the eye. You may be to pull that up with maybe a little tweezers or something like that. Possibly not. It just depends. Yes?
So how does shoot, what was I gonna say? How long do you think a frog holds breath for? Because they're down there for a while.
Oh yeah, I think it depends on breed at that point, but they can hold their breath fairly long.
And don't they drink water through their skin? Don't they absorb it?
They hydrate and mostly they oxygenate through their skin. Yeah, through the oxygen in the water. In other words, if they're sitting in the water, they can extract oxygen from
And
the
like
water.
the hear holes
And
or
the ear.
whatever it's called.
The tympanum, yeah, the eardrum.
Is it just a hole?
You'll see, it's flat. No, it's not a hole. It's flat. It's like a
So
little
just
drum.
Vibration?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Do you have all the blanks filled in for amphibians? Does the next blank say something about reptiles?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's where I'm going. Reptiles. Module 15B continued. Remember, like I told you, this used to be in a separate module. So.
What's the third example of class amphibian?
I told him
Salamanders, frogs, and toads.
No, that's two. Frogs and
Well,
toads.
Let's see. I'll get my book out.
Is it reptile?
What they're aiming at there.
Repetition.
Forest grade and representative.
Reps.
Examples of class amphibians that you're talking about?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. I have
Yeah.
frogs, toads, salamanders.
Are we
As opposed to Anura, did you write down the class name? So frogs, toads, salamanders. All right, now we're looking at reptiles. Here we go. What is a reptile? Here we go. They're covered with tough, dry scales. They do not have a wet body. So amphibians have a wet body. These guys do not. They're dry. They are cold-blooded. The other word for that is ectothermic. They breathe with lungs throughout their life, whereas the amphibians don't. All right, they have a 3-chambered heart, similar there, and they produce amniotic eggs, mostly oviparous. They mostly lay the eggs outside the body.
But what about mostly? Do some of them not?
Apparently, because it
some
says
pythons,
mostly. We'll talk about it. There are
hatch
some that
inside
do
the
have
body.
ovoviviparous,
Yeah.
right? We do have some like that. We'll get to that in just a minute. We're going to look more closely at the amniotic egg here. A chicken's egg is also an amniotic egg, so it's similar in that respect. It's got the yolk, it's got the white in there. I don't know if people eat reptile eggs. I suspect somewhere they do. I know they eat turtle eggs.
One
That's
of
a
our
reptile.
chickens only lays their egg. One of them only lays her eggs on her roost for some reason, but her roost is pretty high up, so she lays it and they just fall out and break every single time.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And now that I think about it, y'all, I have turtle shells that I did not bring.
What?
I did not bring my turtle shells today. Should have done that. All right, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 things there. Y'all still writing some of those
Yes,
down?
ma'am.
I think there's a little box for y'all to draw the amniotic egg here in a minute, yeah?
Circle.
You're a funny looking circle. A-M-N-I-O-T. And contract. And I can't wait to be out of this class with Eddie. This conference.
I can't wait to stay in this class for even longer because it's awesome.
There we go. A for the day, Eddie.
For the day, Eddie. She didn't say for this class.
What about for the quiz?
Are we good? All right, here we go. Let's talk about their skin a little bit. Reptile skin, tough, dry scales that overlap for preservation of water, sort of like on a roof, right? The roof, they overlap that way to the water rolls off of it. Made
Where
up
is that?
of, I don't think you have to write it.
Or
Made up of
something
dead
like that.
tissue. The scales do not grow. Therefore, these creatures, just like exoskeleton creatures, must molt to get into a bigger skin. All right, so they'll you know that snakes shed their skin, right?
Yeah, you find like snake sheddings every now and here and there.
Yeah.
Right, and I have some of that and did not bring it today. I have a bunch of snake stuff. I didn't bring any of my snake stuff because I was thinking about frogs the whole time. All right, here we go. This is some snake skin right there with the different colors. You can see them. I like this picture because you can see them overlapping really well. Other snakes, of course, have identifiable markings,
Cheetah print.
and you can see each one of those are little scales that are overlapping. Plus, it's got the color marking on there. Does anybody know what that one is?
Some sort of python, probably a ball
Yeah.
python or something.
Okay, it's pretty. Okay, here is our amniotic egg. I believe this is what you're going to try to draw there in that little box. Okay, draw and label. Anytime I ask you to draw something, I assume you understand that means you will also be labeling it. All right, so you're going to see here's the critter right here called the embryo. All right, this is the yolk
I
sac.
had one job and I messed it up.
This is wine.
I had failed an egg. I drew an oval.
Well, it's oval shaped. You got a little air sac right here. The white of the egg is called the albumin. It has a shell. We're going to be looking at the shell with a little more specificity in a moment. Because unlike a bird's egg, these shells are soft. They have like a leather softness to them. But inside here, you can see we have our yolk. This is called the allantois. The amnion, the embryo right there. So that's the critter in the kind of greenish color there. And then these yellow parts here are parts that are helping to keep it feeding. All right, everybody's got it?
Hold on just a second. I gotta label one more thing.
This is one of those things you might end up having to draw on a quiz someday, yeah?
Oh no. We label it too on the quiz probably?
Always label.
Egg.
Egg. Inner egg.
It's just my hand. Calm down.
All right, here are the orders we'll be looking at, the orders of reptiles. All right, order Squamata. Are these words written for you, or you do have to write them?
You write them.
So you have to write Squamata?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, order Squamata includes snakes and lizards. Next comes Testudines.
What'd you say? One more time?
Testudines. Do you know what's in Testudines?
Birds.
Turtles and tortoises. We're talking about
Starts
reptiles.
with a
We're talking about
T.
reptiles.
I said
Oh,
birds.
this one will be easy. Crocodilia. What's in
Okay.
crocodilia?
No. Sea salt turtles. Sea water turtles.
Wait.
Oculus.
Crocodiles and alligators.
Oh.
I said it louder.
And then the weird one, order Sphenodontia. That is called the tuatara. There's only one of them in there.
Bird.
The tuatara.
It's a bird.
It's kind of a lizard-looking thing.
It's a bird.
I'll show you the picture. He's unusual.
Why is he in his own
Unique.
class?
All right, so 4 orders. We had 2 orders of the amphibians, right, and 4 orders of the reptiles. Are we good?
Mhm.
So now I believe we're going to go into each one of these and talk about it. Is that right? That's what I have. So order Squamata, lizards and snakes. What's the difference between lizards and snakes? Here we go. Lizards have 2 pair of limbs. Snakes have no limbs. Remember the curse, right? On your belly you shall go.
So
They have
lizard.
no ears.
Yeah, that snakes are deaf. They don't hear you at all. No
They
ears.
have heat, right?
Lizards
They
do
feel
have tympanum, like the frogs. They can hear. So if you're gonna sneak up on a snake, it's not the sound that's gonna give. Yeah,
You just
they
have to
other.
hover.
They
You
do
have
have other abilities to indicate that you're there. Lizards have uniform scales all over their body, whereas snakes have specialized scales on their belly. If I'd remembered to bring my snake skin, I could show you those. They're called scoots.
Oh, that sounds aggressive.
Yeah, scoots, and it helps them scoot along. Oh, and I just remembered, y'all, I have forgotten to put in the videos. All right, lizards have eyelids. Snakes do not. They're always staring at you. That's why they're creepy. They don't ever blink their eyes. No eyelids.
My shoulder's hurting. Very annoying. Breathe.
You distract me.
So protect the pens.
Is there across the box?
This is your time for redemption.
You're just here.
Give me my pen.
You lost everything.
This section.
All right, everybody good?
Almost.
Still writing? Okay.
Halfway.
Oh, this one.
You're the last I can do. You don't think you will have to use it. Where are they?
Calm down.
That's a good one, son.
I'm out.
Shoot, that's the wrong section. Oopsies.
And then it says lizards to know. We're going to look at some lizards you need to know.
I bet I know.
Bet you do.
I thought I don't. I bet you $10 I don't know them.
Then we'll talk about snakes
I
to know
bet
as
you
well.
$10 I don't know
To
them.
beware of.
That you don't know them?
Look at that. There we go. That's right. Boom.
Okay, good. So we have this guy. These are big. I mean, this is not even including their tail. They can be this big, but not the tail included. So, in Britain they call them iguanas. I don't know why.
Have you
Yeah,
ever
Adam.
held iguanas? They're so much fun.
Yeah, they're really cool. They kind of move around slowly. They will grab a hold of you with those little, they'll kind of grab a hold of you like that.
They're pretty fast.
Yeah. But they will let you hold them. They're pets. People have them as pets. Now, of course, there are some that are living in the wild. Apparently, in Florida, they're
all
pests.
over the place.
Dude,
They're
yeah.
everywhere.
And I believe, don't they let people kill them and eat them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
During
You can get
during
paid
the
to
Tiger
hunt
Woods
them.
was playing golf.
Say again?
You can get paid to hunt them.
Yes, right, because there are just too many, right?
Yeah.
They're whatever. Apparently, they don't have a natural predator in Florida or something like
Except for
that.
humans.
Except for humans. I don't know. They probably taste great. I don't know.
Especially
Here we have the largest lizard would be the Komodo dragon. Those are as big as one of these tables here, very heavy. It's one of the deadliest bites known, but it's not venom. They don't have venom that gets to you. What they have is
They
a
don't
very
brush their teeth.
They don't brush their teeth. Yes, they have very septic saliva.
So
And so if you get a bite from one of these guys, it'll first of all hurt. You need to get it cleaned out really, really well.
Oh, shoot, I forgot.
Very, very bad bacteria in there. Now they're called Komodo dragons because they live on an island called Komodo. Yeah. So, and they're quite large.
Yeah.
And they can exact a pretty strong bite on you.
I'm not sure if you find in the wild and get bit by one, you're not gonna make it. Just because if you do get close enough to get bit, they'll just
It won't be the poison, it'll be, or
It'll-
the
they'll just tear you
toxic,
apart.
it'll just tear you up. So Max, what was yours?
Did you see the video of the Komodo dragon like climbing around in a convenience store?
I don't know where
No.
your pen is.
On the shelves and stuff.
In another country?
Yeah,
Okay, so was it raiding the store for food or something?
I guess so.
Yikes. I have a video I show my younger students about the amount of pressure they can use with their bite, and it's pretty extraordinary. Yeah, so. All right, now this is a venomous lizard. And these are in the United States. This is called a Gila monster, and they're not very big. They're fairly small with a big. They almost look a little bit like a gecko,
like a really big gecko.
like a large gecko, but they're only about this big. They're about the size of your hand. And they do have venom, so the venom will inject you like a snake would, alright? We have them out in our desert areas. Alright, the colorful lizard right here, we're gonna look at the chameleon. Chameleons are pretty cool creatures. They will change. Now look at the color of this chameleon. Is that color, would you consider that color to be something he's using for camouflage?
No.
No, what's he using his color for?
Hunting.
No?
Find a mate?
Yeah, he's advertising. He's advertising his beauty for a mate, right? Furthermore, they have these awesome eyes. They can move independently. You've seen that probably in the cartoons, right? They do move those eyes around independently, and they're kind of crazy looking. Furthermore, they can change their color pretty quickly, and you can see it. You can watch them change their color in front of you if you put them in. And oftentimes, like for instance, if you had a pet chameleon and it was a male and you took him and he looked in a mirror, he would think there was another male chameleon there. He does not know it's a reflection of him, and he'll change color because he's getting mad at the other male.
It's even funnier to watch if you take one and you like bring it up to a sink and you turn the water on, it'll like reach up on two legs and like try and like grab the water.
Grab the water, okay.
It's pretty funny to watch.
Here's one that's eating. You can see his tongue is very long, and it is sticky, and he'll be able to get a hold of that critter right there. So here's a little, yeah, just showing you how.
Looks like a horny toad.
That looks like a horny toad for sure. How they have a sticky tongue right there. Pretty quick. Cute lizard. We have geckos. We have house geckos around here. They're very cute. Some of them are completely see-through. The glass ones, right? Okay, guys, shh, right your nose, please. These ones, they can lose their tail and regrow it. That kind of thing.
That one's a leopard gecko.
This one is the bottom of their feet. They have a structure here that increases the surface area by a lot, allowing them to defy gravity and walk on the ceiling. It's because they're able to kind of distribute that weight throughout every one of those little folds right there, and it gives them the ability to defy gravity. All right, our frilled lizard right here, that frill on there is for intimidation. They're trying to scare somebody, and so I have a video, but I forgot to put it in, so I'm gonna go see if I can find it real quick.
Those are
I'm gonna.
in Australia and they'll chase you on two legs.
And then the Jurassic Park people use this as inspiration, right?
Yeah.
All right. Can't
Horny
find the
toad.
video. But here's the horny toad, or the horned lizard, the great horned lizard.
What
We always call them horny toads.
What happened to all the horny toads we used to have around here?
It's fire ants.
Really?
Yeah, fire ants eat the horny toad clutch of eggs.
Hey,
All right,
oh,
guys, stop
seriously.
fighting over the.
Stop. Hey, seriously, Cody's like, you're getting like, stop.
Judah, give him his pins. Judah, give him his pins.
Ball.
All right, so these guys used to be very prevalent in Texas. I remember as a kid we would play with them and collect them and put them in a little box and that kind of stuff. Of course, we know, who is it, Rice? Rice Horn Toads? Is it TCU? TCU Horn Frogs.
Yeah.
The Horn
Horned
Frogs.
frogs.
That's their mascots, TCU. They are like little tiny dinosaurs, right?
They're awesome.
Very prehistoric looking. When we did catch them, they were very docile. They didn't tend to mess with you. They didn't mind really being held so much. But one of their defenses, of course, they look all prickly with all those little spikes on there. But they do have another technique. You know what it is?
They bleed through their eyes.
They squirt you.
Ew.
They can squirt you with blood. And it is their blood that comes out of their eyes, and they squirt it out, and it's for intimidation. I never saw it happen.
blind.
Yeah. I never saw them do that, but apparently they can do it. All right, snakes. Now this snake, I feel like the colors have been maybe enhanced a little bit. Look how green the green is. It's really cool looking, but I believe that maybe some computer enhancement.
They are
right there.
very teal and red.
There
but
are
that's
some pretty,
so
pretty
overly
colors
done.
of snakes, but
Maybe it's just like the sun.
No.
Here you can see, if we're going to look at, we will be dissecting that snake in a little bit here. You're going to see what we have is essentially, this elongated body with elongated gut. But look at this part right here, the right lung, that purple part. The lung is pretty impressive. The two lungs are pretty long, and there's our little. How many chambers in the heart?
2, 1, 3.
3, thank you.
I saw a coral snake.
Okay, we're
We
going to
found
talk
one
about
the
that in
other
just a
day,
minute.
too.
They're specialized scales. The small scales on top look something like the roof tiles, but on the bottom they have these things called scutes. It allows them to grasp and move along the ground and move. I was going to show you a sidewinder moving sideways through the desert, but I'm not able to find my videos. All right, snake senses, they're deaf, they have poor vision. Boy, that's two down, right? But they have very, very heightened senses when it comes to smell.
Except for
And
like
taste.
with sight.
And taste, yeah. So this is, we're looking at the side of their head here, right? And we have the tongue. Now the tongue is coming out, the tongue is coming out, and the tongue is sampling the air. It's essentially their ability to smell by sticking the tongue out. That's why they're doing that. They're figuring out what's around them since they can't really hear you or see you very well. And up inside the nostril, you can see all those specialized cells right here, and then this right here is called the Jacobson's organ. It's like another little bundle of nervous tissue up in there, and they will literally bring in this forked tongue and stick that little fork up in there, and it allows them to smell very keenly what is nearby. It sticks it out and it goes, and it has the fork, one at each side. Yes?
Where are the teeth?
The teeth are, yeah, you can't see it right here. Not all snakes have teeth, but some of them famously have teeth, yes? Called fangs. So here we can see, though, the sense of smell being tied here to the olfactory bulb of the brain, and so they have a very developed olfactory sense. They can also open their mouth large to fit large things in, so when they're eating, they unhinge their jaw right here, and they're able to fit in large things. This is a snake that, of course, is eating an egg, and what do we do with snakes that eat eggs?
Boom. Shoot 'em.
Eat them.
Yeah, we have to. They're gonna, if they steal our eggs, we have to get rid of them. We have a lot of, what do we call them? We call them rat
Rat
snakes.
snakes.
Rat snakes will come eat your eggs. And sometimes they'll eat a bunch of them, and you'll see them sitting there, and they can't move very well, and you'll see egg in them, and they're just paralyzed pretty much there. Now some of these other guys, these bigger snakes, will come along and eat larger things. Here is an anaconda that has something very large inside of it. I can only hope it's a large animal of some sort and not a human. They have been known to swallow humans, usually smaller humans, not typically a full-grown man.
Babies.
But children or smaller adults, they can. In tropical locations. I have a video of this guy attacking and getting one of those large, what is that large rodent in South America? Capybara?
Capybara.
Yeah, so the capybara, that they've swallowed those guys. This one's dead, by the way. You can see somebody's caught it and they got a rope around its neck right there. Its face is deformed in a, I think its jaw's just separated actually from having swallowed that very
I think it might be a dog.
It's not a that's not a green it's not an anaconda though.
No.
No, it's a python. I think it looks like a reticulated python.
Python.
Snake getting out of its skin, of course, there comes a time when they need to shed their skin, and when that happens, they're under a lot of stress. So if you have a pet snake, you want to leave them alone when they're going through the shedding process, the molting process. You will notice when it's time because they'll start, the color will change a little bit on there, but when their eyes go kind of white, it's because the skin over their eyes has also, they're going to shed that as well. So then you know it's time to just back off and leave them alone. They're under some stress at that point. In the wild, they will come and find something to rub against, sort of like it's itchy, and they'll climb out of it, kind of turning it inside out as they go. Yes?
Have you ever thought that if you're an animal and you're molting for the first time, you ever thought that you might be a little freaked out, like, whoa,
What's happening?
that just came off me?
Yeah, yeah. And then we can find snake skins fairly easily around. There are some creatures that will eat the snake skin. Some snakes will eat their own snake
It's
skin.
good enough for your snakes.
It's got some protein or whatever in there, but we find them fairly prevalently. So, all right, here's an anaconda. These are the type of snakes that are in a group called the constrictors. Their method of killing prey, of course, is to squeeze them until they're suffocated. Then they swallow them.
Solid muscle.
They are very strong, and they basically go around you, and when you exhale, you can't inhale again. So if you're in this position, try to keep your chest as open as you can, little tiny breaths. Yes.
You ever watch The Jungle Book?
Certainly. Yeah. The cartoon one or the live action?
Either.
Can they hypnotize you?
Eddie.
No, they can't.
And do they sound like Winnie the Pooh?
They do not. But there's two types of anaconda prevalent out there, one the green and then the brown. And this one is probably the brown, even though it looks kind of green. The green ones are apparently very green. Because I have one that's very, am I going the wrong way? Is it the other way?
You have an anaconda?
I have a skin of an anaconda. I do, and I didn't bring it. Oh, I can bring it next time, I guess. All right, here's some people who've run over one, I believe, on the road. Looks like he's got a little something in his belly there. Pretty long. Notice they're in a different country.
Yeah.
We do
How
have
does
them in
that thing,
South
like-
America, but
How does that thing go around without being noticed? Like,
It's not. They're noticed. It's just they don't really have natural predators.
good point. All right, snake eggs. You can see them here. This is a snake that's actually laying the eggs right here. I wanted you to see the eggs are soft. They're leather-like. We can see the eggs hatching out here. That leather-like shell versus the kind of shell that the chicken has, which is a hard shell. We'll talk about those next time.
they like
And then
calcium.
these are the oviparous snakes. That's the baby coming out right there. But then we have the ovoviviparous snakes right here. These guys are live birth.
Ooh, is that albino snake?
I think that
Yeah.
is. It says here rattlesnakes and boas have live birth, but it's
So if
some
the-
are even viviparous, but most are ovoviviparous.
So,
It says here.
if the snake is albino, right, the female, and
Mhm.
it mates with the male albino, would the babies be guaranteed to be albino?
I think probably. I don't know specifically the distribution of the traits in that particular case, but I think
It
I think
would be
it's
about 80%.
recessive.
There's
I'm just saying that they're both expressing recessive. That's all they've got. So,
snake genetics are weird.
and genetics can be more complicated than just one single gene. All right, what do we have here? Oh, these are the snakes that you need to keep an eye out here in Texas. The ones that are venomous, the coral. Now, the coral snake is a beautiful snake. We definitely have them around here.
But
So red and yellow, kill a fellow, red and black,
Friend of Jack.
friend of Jack. So you can look at, I remember seeing one before and I'm just staring at it, doing that little thing, and I realized it was indeed a coral snake. Coral snakes are short fang snakes. They are not gonna strike you like a rattlesnake would. In fact, if you see a coral snake, just leave it. It's probably not gonna be a problem for you at all. In order for it to cause
Step
problems for
on
you,
it,
it has
right?
to kind of chew
Chew
on
on
you a
you.
little bit, you know, and you're gonna know it's there. So you'll be able to get rid of it before you can just chew on you. So, meanwhile, the rattlesnake's a different story. Rattlesnake will strike out of nowhere, and they sometimes will not warn you.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll warn you with the rattle and just go away if you can figure out where the rattle sound is coming from. But they will stand up and they will strike at you without warning. And their venom is not good. You need to go to the hospital if you get bit by a rattlesnake.
Yeah, but rattlesnakes are so cool looking. Like,
They are cool.
you see that, and you're like, that's an American snake. Right?
And I have
You know
a
what I'm saying? Like,
sample
did you
of
see
their
that?
skin and their fangs and their tail, but I didn't bring any of that. Sorry.
Literally, yeah.
This is called a water moccasin,
Or cottonmouth.
also known as a cottonmouth, because you can see his mouth open right there. It's white on the inside. They are very, very good swimmers, but they can also move pretty fast on land as well. And they're kind of strange looking because they're sort of squatty, kind of fat. But I had one. My mom had one of these in her house, and we don't even live near water. And we had to go capture and get it out. But it does have venom. Is it a long fang? These are long fang.
It's
long
long
fang?
fanged. I had
Long
a
fang?
buddy who got bit by one and had to go to the hospital for it. It was pretty
Yeah.
bad.
Anytime you're going to have any of these venomous snakes, you need to have that attention in.
Copperheads.
And then we have our copperhead. Copperheads are also beautiful, beautiful snakes. They are long fang. They will get you.
I've killed about 150 copperheads.
Have you?
With
They're
my
very
weed.
pretty.
Well, because where I live at, it's just like I mow our yard, and
Mhm.
about like 2 miles on the road, and we live
They
out
do
in
like the
nowhere.
tall grass.
Yeah, we have our neighbors, and I do that too. And we have this dead tree, and there was about 8 of them just wrapped around each other.
Wow.
And I was weeding it, and I was
How
kinda
bright were they? Were they bright orange
They
or
were
brown?
bright orange.
They're pretty young,
So I
probably.
was just kind of.
Did you?
Just like weedy
Yeah.
all over.
I don't blame you for killing these
Well-
three.
well,
I would
the
leave
thing
this.
is-
I would leave the coral alone. The other three, I
The
would go
reason
ahead and
there's
kill
a
them.
coral
we
snakes
pets,
with hat bears.
copperheads.
What?
We don't want our pets getting it.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah,
the
yeah. Right. I
copperheads.
thought you meant you had them as pets. Yes.
Is
know.
it weird that all of these snakes are found in Texas?
I know, but at least we're not in Australia, where they
Oh,
have
where
the ones that'll
everything
kill you
wants to
before you
kill
can even
you.
get to the hospital, you know,
I
that
thought
kind of
a
thing.
Copperhead.
Australia,
with rocks on it.
everyone wants to kill.
We didn't know it was a copperhead.
What do you mean you caught it?
Rabbits.
Like in a bucket.
Oh, okay. I have a friend who was bit by a copperhead, and she said it was one of the worst pains she's ever felt in
I've
her
picked one
life.
up
It was
before.
so
My
painful.
grandpa got bit by a copperhead on the finger
Oh
right
my
there.
goodness.
Snakes are easy to pick up as long as you get them behind the ear right there. They can't.
Oh
they
yeah,
can't do
yeah.
anything.
You can do that with most
Yeah, that's
critters.
so
Yeah.
weird. I got bit by a person.
That's That's one of the worst bites you can get.
It's happening again.
Okay, now these are the vipers. In fact, we're looking now at the rattlesnake. It is known as a pit viper, and it's called that because it has this little organ right here, this pit right here, and they are able to sense the heat of your body. So while they can't hear you very well and they can't see you, but they know exactly where you are, even in a dark room, because of the heat we're putting off of our body. They can find you. They, of course, their fang is like a hypodermic needle. It has a hole right through it. I have some of those. I don't know why I didn't bring them. But it shows you that hole in there. They also, when they're not aggressively attacking you, the fangs are laying flat backward in their mouth. And when they open it up, they pop them out basically, and they inject you. The idea that the venom is strong in the little guys, that's true. They do have a lot of venom in there, but they don't have as much. But it is apparently supposedly just as venomous as the big guy, but the big guy has more. So.
Is it true that they're like immune to their venom, or if they like prick themselves?
You mean if they bite themselves or whatever?
Or if they get bit by another rattlesnake.
Right, I believe I don't think
fight.
I don't think they're poisoned by their own venom.
That would be awesome to watch two rattlesnakes fight.
It's pretty crazy to watch.
You've been to those snake wrangling
Looks like they're
deals?
dying
They have them
on.
where?
Emery, they
Taylor-
had some in. They brought some into the Capitol, and Emery got a photo. The guy was holding it around her neck and stuff like that. It's
And,
pretty cool.
and they, they get
Like,
bit or whatever. I
that's it.
think pretty
No,
frequently.
but
All right.
most of them,
Now-
most of them are defanged. The ones they
No,
capture.
no.
So here
They
he
all
is.
have their fangs.
Like the ones in the zoos. In
I don't know how you
Texas.
defang them without.
No,
hurting 'em real
most
bad.
most poisonous snakes that they have, they still have their fangs. Because it's like a 75% death rate if you try and defang.
So here we're going to see this probably is somebody holding the snake in such a way and squeezing their head, and they will extract that stuff out of there. Now notice they have right back here you can see they have a chamber they're holding it in. Once they've extracted it, it does take a little time to refill, if you
Personally,
will.
I do enjoy
But
just sipping on
We
rattlesnake
will
oil, but-
take them and put them on a specialized like little cup and squeeze it out and milk the venom out of them.
For
And the
anti-venom.
reason we do that, we can make anti-venom from that.
No,
you
but
know.
it's actually quite sweet though. The venom.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't
taste
think I would
it.
taste it. Yeah, it's not good
It's
for
good.
us.
It's good with coffee.
Okay, but this picture also shows really well the scales. Very nice scales.
Speaking of
right there.
snake venom.
All right,
Yes.
here we go. Pit viper identification. The pit is separate from the nostril right there. The pit is right there, and it says here that they have their vertical
So
lines. So that's a pit viper, and the rattlesnake is a example
So
of a pit viper.
pit vipers have pits, and then vipers don't have pits.
I guess I don't
Is
know.
that the difference?
I think a viper might be just a generalized term for a snake. Am I right or wrong? I don't know. All right, order Testudines. This is going to be our turtles and tortoises. So what is the big difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Turtles live most of their lives in the water. If you think about a land turtle, they do come out on land, of course, but they're very good swimmers. Versus a tortoise, which it doesn't swim at all. In fact, if you put a tortoise in the pond, it might sink to the bottom. So be careful. And they could maybe, if they were shallow enough, walk out, but just be careful. You don't want one of these giant tortoises to go in the water. They're boom, right down straight to the bottom. But they mostly live on land, even in deserts, especially the giant tortoises.
We have some in Texas. Like my uncle went up to visit my other one up in like northwest Texas. And
You're talking wild?
Yeah.
They have wild
Yeah, I have a
tortoises?
shell from one that he brought me, and it's like that big, and there's just little box turtles, so you'll find down in little canyons, just
Okay.
kinda like cruising.
We have
And
a turtle
box
that's-
turtles are typically tortoises,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
th-
box
and they have a
tortoise.
taller shell.
We had a red-nosed slider plant eggs in our
That's a
yard.
turtle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
those
have
have a
turtle
slimmer
that
shell.
outlived our great-grandmother.
A tortoise?
No, a turtle.
It was a turtle, okay.
Oh, it's like
Really?
98.
The giant tortoises
She
get
lived
very
to-
giant.
I was thinking she was
Now,
like
when I
something.
say here they come on land to lay their eggs, that's really referring to a sea turtle. Okay, so our sea turtle there. They have webbed feet, especially the sea turtle. They have a streamlined body shape for swimming. The tortoises do not have webbed feet. In fact, they have kind of club-type feet. And then they have a taller, higher shell. This, of course, is a tortoise. This is a giant tortoise. These are the ones that can live up to, several hundred years. And you can see how he probably would just sink if he went to the bottom of the water.
That's a pimp.
All right, freshwater turtles. Here are the
How
ones we
old
would
is the
find in
oldest
ponds
turtle?
around here.
He's like what, 500 years old, something like that?
This guy?
No, the oldest tortoise, right?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look up the record
Isn't he
for
like
age.
5 or something, 520 years old?
I'm not sure.
Do
I'll have
you
to look
think
it up.
that there's a tortoise that was like
That's-
best buds with Adam? Like, what's up, bro?
Probably. Let's finish up so we can get to our dissection. Freshwater turtles, you've probably seen several of these around. There's
Snapping turtles.
we have
Where's
one
the
that
alligator turtle?
is that the
Alligator
crazy
snappers.
looking one that
Yeah,
looks
they're
like
big.
a dinosaur.
They're
It's got
big.
spikes on its shell.
I was noodling. I caught one. The shell was like
Oh,
freaking
they're-
that
and
big
they're
on
creepy.
it.
Oh, it's red ears, sorry, not red.
Then
red
we've got
spikes,
our
okay.
sea turtles here, which the hawksbill right here can reach 250 pounds.
Dang,
The largest
son.
of the sea turtles
Where'd you find that?
is 1,500 pounds, the leatherback. This one
really soft.
coming on shore for laying eggs. We can see her laying eggs here, dropping her clutch in the sand and leaving. They hatch out and they're cute little guys.
But then
And
they
then
die.
They mostly die. Yeah.
Scary crows.
They're an important part of the food chain.
Take it.
All right,
Why-
crocodilia, alligator versus crocodile. Alligators are dark gray to black. Crocodiles are green and brown. The alligator has a U-shaped snout. I think I'll show that to you in a minute. Maybe not. The crocodile has a V-shaped snout. Alligators in freshwater, those are the ones that are in America. We usually call them the Mississippi alligators there. Our crocodiles often are in salt or brackish, which means salt plus a little fresh. Alligators lay their eggs in vegetation, and crocodiles lay their eggs in the mud or sand. And then this is the teeth on the lower jaw are not visible when the mouth is closed on the alligator. So if you see a critter with his teeth, lower jaw visible when they're closed, right here, that's a crocodile. So alligators are in America, crocodiles are the famous ones from Australia, the crocodile hunter, that guy. Okay. The way to tell the difference between an alligator and crocodile is alligators have a thick, blunt snout, and crocodiles have thinner, more pointed snouts, and their teeth don't fit in their mouths. Are those blanks to underline? I mean, are those blanks to fill in? Yeah,
Next.
okay.
Fill in. You're being slow, Max.
So I'll show it to you here. Here we go. There's the U-shaped snout of our alligator, the American or Mississippi alligator, and then our saltwater crocodile has a V shape. And then tell me which one this is.
That's the crocodile.
Because the teeth go outside.
You can see the teeth.
You can see the bottom.
Yes.
So it's a crocodile.
That's the croc?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, a caiman is just a smaller version in order crocodile. They are full grown at that size, so that's the difference. They're smaller.
They're also known as swamp puppies too.
Are they? Okay. And so like typically if you see the guy come into the park or whatever, one of those, it's usually a caiman and they're full grown. Yeah, so they're
They're not big.
this is the Tuatara of New Zealand. They're in a class all by themselves. There are a couple of things that it looks just like an iguana or something, but they have enough special features that they are put into their own order,
It looks like
Sphenodontia.
an iguana that'd be really fast at running.
We can see here that they this is their body shape and this kind of thing. But the third eye is the pineal eye or the pineal eye. The pineal gland is something, or the pineal part of your brain. It's in your brain,
It looks very
and it has to do with actually receiving light. You can see here the third eye is there. It typically is only visible when they're they're juveniles, and then when they're older, the scales cover it up. Yes. All right, it's time for lab.
Oh, great time.
All right, we're going to be looking at our frogs, looking for these different structures internally. We're going to start, of course, externally. Does your book have a bunch of questions to answer?
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
Okay, and then it'll guide you to find these things, and it'll look something
fun.
more like that.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mom said in her biology class she had a frog and she put some water in its mouth and watched it digest it all the way through.
Was it alive?